Hi there, so I'm Helen from Inspired Healing, and my mission is to inspire other people to start or continue their spiritual journey. And today's topic is the 6 clairs. That's Clairaudient, Clairvoyant, Claircognizant, Clairsentient, Clairgustance and Clairalience. Now, the reason I'm so passionate about this is because when I started my shamanic training, the only word that people ever used was see. So they'll say, right, you'll do a journey and you'll see this and you'll see that and you'll see the other. And I'm not quite aphantastic, which means you don't have any visual or imagination. You're not able to see with your eyes closed or visualize things. But I very, very rarely get visions. So I almost gave up because I thought, oh, well, I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. I can't do this. But what I realized is there were other clairs that when it's a bit like when you're blind and then you're hearing and stuff, you know, your other senses are more attuned. So being avisual now is absolutely no impediment to me at all. And my other senses are really helpful. But of course, if you don't know about the other senses, you won't know to look out for them or even that they're happening. So I'm just going to do a quick run through of each one so that if you're not visual, or even if you are visual and you weren't aware of the other clairs, then you can dive in. So to start with, clairvoyant. That's clear. Clair means clear. So clear seeing or clear sight. And that's where when we close our eyes, we have visions and we see things. Sometimes they're more like dreamlike, and sometimes they're colors, and sometimes they're real, you know, we see people or animals or whatever. But it just means clear seeing. So it's a way of connecting with spirit, and all the clairs are around connecting with spirit and receiving their messages and their wisdom. So clairvoyant is clear seeing. So then there's Clairaudient, and Clairaudient and Clairvoyant are both quite well used, so most people have come across them. And Clairaudient means you just hear messages. Now that's quite weird because when I realize I'm very Clairaudient, but I was sort of expecting to actually physically hear someone whispering in my ear, whereas actually for me it just lands as words in my ear. It's like someone's whispered, but it's silently in my head. They've whispered it silently in my head. So I get a lot of my information that way. So look out for that one. The next 2 are more commonly talked about, but not as much as clairvoyant and clairaudient, and that is clairsentient and claircognizant. So claircognizant is clear knowing, and clairsentient, clear sensing or feeling. So with the cognizant, it can be quite weird. I had no idea I was cognizant, and I'd be talking to people at weddings. Maybe I'd had a few glasses of wine before, before I was teetotal. That's another story for another day. And they would start talking to me, and I don't know why, but people always seem to share their problems with me. And I'd be listening away, and then I'd say something to them about themselves that just kind of popped into my head. And I'd be like, well, maybe that's because of this. And they're like, how do you know that? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I just sort of do. And they're like, oh my God, you must be psychic. But I think that was the claircognizant kicking in and downloading or giving me a knowing about the person. And now I get that quite often. And now I know what it is. I can nurture it and cultivate it. So, and when I do cacao ceremonies, I say to people, you know, if you ask a question and the answer comes straight away, like you've almost answered your own question, don't doubt it, because some people can go, oh, well, why did I ask a question when I knew the answer? That was bit weird. But actually you didn't. It's just spirit placing the wisdom into your head. So a clear knowing. They just give you a clear knowing. And then clairsentient, as I say, is sensing or feeling. So this is where if we're asking for affirmation or we want a sign, quite often we'll get a feeling. Sometimes I get feelings that show me how I felt in a certain situation, which helps me feel how the client is feeling. So, and that tends to come along often with cognizant things. So they'll say, oh, I'm being shown how I felt when this happened in my life. And they're like, yes, that's how I'm feeling. So sometimes we can use them together to get better and clearer understanding. But also if you're asking, you know, questions, or you want to ask spirit if they're around, or if your power animal's around, you can ask for signs. So you might just suddenly get hot or get cold. You might feel those tingles, you know, like the goosies we call it. That's an affirmation that what you're thinking or wanting is going to be okay. But you'll have to tune in and find your own affirmations from spirit if you're very sentient, because you might have a specific tell, like maybe your little finger on your left hand tingles when spirit's around or something like that. So you can always talk to spirit and ask them to show you a feeling or a sense to know that they're there, so that when you connect with them, because you can't see them if you are not visual, then you know that they're there. So, and sometimes you just know, like, or sense that they're there. You don't need a specific tell. So don't read too much into it, but just enjoy those because they're very powerful. Yeah, I use those too a lot. And then there's the two more, Clairgustance and Clairalience, and these are less talked about. I didn't know about them for many years and then saw something somewhere and I'm like, oh, what's that? So I thought I'd share these with you too. So Clairgustance is taste. And I've had an experience of this. My grandma was crazy about the flavour of rum and raisin. I never saw her drink a rum, but she loved rum and raisin ice cream, rum and raisin chocolate, and gave me a bit of a taste for the whole rum and raisin. I still buy rum and raisin ice cream if it's ever available, just because it reminds me of her. But anyway, I digress. Not difficult with an ADHD brain. So let me get back on topic. I once was nowhere near any rum and raisin. I hadn't eaten it, tasted it, couldn't see it inside. And suddenly I got this taste of rum and raisin in my mouth. And of course, immediately I thought grandma, but I also thought that's really weird. And then I just thought, maybe that's grandma trying to get through to me, because I always was very close to my grandma. She died when I was quite young, and I always knew that I could talk to her in spirit, even though I didn't know. I just knew, as in cognizance, that she was listening somehow. Though I was about 8-9 years old, and I used to talk to her every day for many years. She was like my ally in spirit. So if you get a taste of something, someone recently on a retreat I was running said they got a taste of oranges and that really reminded them of someone or some situation. So if you start tasting things that aren't there, don't think you're going crazy. This is the spirits trying to contact you and give you some messages. So just pay attention. And finally, Clairalience, which is where you smell things that aren't perceivable by normal people. Like, you might smell it, but the person sitting right next to you go, no, there's no cigars and whatever. And actually the reason I use the cigars is because on another retreat recently, one of my day cacao retreats, I was talking about these because I always tell people about these before they do a shamanic journey with me with the cacao. And this lady said, oh my God, that happened to me. My dad used to wear this particular cologne and he was always smoking cigars. She said, and I was just sitting in the house and suddenly I got the waft of him, basically, his cigars and cologne all mixed in together. And he'd passed away not that long ago. And she said, I just knew that was him telling me that he was here. And it was very emotional, but absolutely beautiful. So if something like that happens to you, don't dismiss it. That is spirit trying to give you a message. So I think that's all for today. But yes, I said before, when you come to my guided meditation stroke cacao ceremonies, you'll be using all your clairs, because I take you on a beautiful journey to meet the spirit of Mother Cacao. So if you're not visual, it doesn't matter, because you've got all these other clairs. There's clairs, clear seeing, clear hearing, clear sensing, clear knowing, clear tasting, and clear smelling. So I hope that's helped you, especially those people like me who aren't visual, because quite often when we're in things, we get left out. Anyway, see you soon. Take care. Bye.